What's going on, guys? OG here, and today I have got the new Beebrain Brushless V3 from NewBeeDrone. This has been out for about 2 weeks now, and I wanted to kind of give it some time before I did my review and just fly it a little bit more before I gave my impressions of it. So the two main things that I wanted to focus on for the purposes of the review are the Beebrain flight controller itself and these new 0802 gold Unibell motors that NewBeeDrone released with this bind and fly. So as far as this flight controller goes, mostly I have just been racing with it. I haven't really done a lot of freestyling with it, but freestyle wise I'm kind of looking more forward to doing some 2S builds, maybe some toothpick builds, now that you can run an Xt30 connector on this board with no issues, at least none that have been seen so far. As far as 1S goes, I'm mainly just sticking to racing with it, and it has been great so far. I've really enjoyed the way that it's handled everything. The tune that comes on it from the factory, if you get the bind and fly, is just the 4.2.9 Betaflight defaults. So it doesn't fly the best on a whoop, but is 100% flyable. You can take it out of the box, bind it, set up a track, race it, or freestyle, whatever you want to do. And like I said, it's not going to fly perfect, but it'll fly pretty good. I'm not sure at the time of the release of this video if NewBeeDrone's 4.2.9 tune for this is out yet, but I do know that both Patrick Clarke from Project Mockingbird and somebody else, I'll have to look up who that was that posted that other tune, but both of them have done tunes for this on 4.2.9. Also, the new Duel Antennas for the RX on this built-in Spi Receiver, they've been great. I've pushed the range to this further than I normally fly, whoops away from me when I'm flying in my backyard. Haven't even had any kind of fail-safe issues. I haven't had any problems at all. That, I will say, they have done a great job on. That was a big issue with the Beebrain V2, and they seem to have fixed that. The other new thing with this bind and fly are these 0802 gold Unibell motors, which I was super excited about. So far, I've been very pleased with how these have performed and held up to crashes and bits of hair getting stuck in them and everything else. They are just as smooth as they were on the day that I got them. I don't know if it's a placebo effect, but they actually feel a little more powerful than the old gold motors. So as far as the other parts of this bind and fly, I do want to mention that it does come with the original Cockroach brushless frame, which is a great frame, absolutely nothing wrong with it, but it is a little brittle, so be prepared that if you get this as a bind and fly, just make sure you have some spare frames on hand. Really not that big a deal. I would recommend upgrading to the Cockroach V2 frame at some point anyway. Another thing is the Goober Canopy that comes with it. I've never been a huge fan of the Goober Canopy, but that's more of just a personal preference. I like the view that you get in the camera with the Beebrain V2 mount a little bit better. And for both freestyling and racing purposes, if you're doing a lot of crashing, I've always just kind of felt like that is a little bit more solid of a mount to hold your angle. Trade-off is it doesn't give you as much protection for the board, so it is something to think about. With the Goober Canopy, all the electronics and everything stays really well protected. So that is a good thing about this particular canopy. All in all though, this is a great little whoop. I am super excited to do some 2S builds on it. It's got giant solder pads on here. It's got plenty of capability to do pretty much any kind of 1 or 2S whoop toothpick type of build that you want to do. I've got a couple of these. Heads has a couple of these. You're going to be seeing some random build with this board, and we're going to kind of do some experimenting and see what it can take. So if you have one of these, leave a comment. Let me know how you're liking it so far. If you have any ideas of builds that you would like to do with it. I know that I'm going to be rebuilding my old Zombie Brain 2S 65mm running the NewBeeDrone 0703 silver motors. I can't wait to get that thing back up in the air and going with this board, and I think it's going to be a monster. So leave a comment with some builds that you're planning on doing with yours if you already have one, or some builds that you have done with yours if you already have one, and let's have some fun with them.
I feel it in waves, you follow me, drifting to places I should leave, so close to the edge of something so perfect. We were too scared to take the leap. I'm missing the way we used to be. Let me go, let me in this mess I'm falling. Never know, can't find a close to the